games. Rise up, standard price, the loss of legs. My occupation, in essence, not complacent. Block the banquet, stop the computation. I'ma make the coda, fools just wanna make the quota. They can't rock around here, they need baking soda. This a hydra, no way they taking over. Lay them below the basement with snakes and cobras.
When they ask me to redo stuff, I'm like, my immediate reaction is like, what the f*** do you know? I know better.
There's this movie of Pedro Pascal and Nicolas Cage, but there is this scene where older Nick Cage is driving down the street and he looks over to his passenger seat and there's a late 20s version of himself sitting next to it. And it's basically his ego telling him how fucking awesome he is, right? I suspect Mateo has the same freaking thing. Instead of like an actual, like a figment of his imagination, it's somebody that he hires on a daily basis to dress like him and just tells him in Italian how freaking awesome he is. What do you mean they're asking you to do changes? Do you know who you are? You're Matteo fucking Scalera.
This is the INKPULP Podcast. Welcome to the INKPULP Podcast.
We missed the joke. Shit.
I know. Welcome to the INKPULP Podcast. I'm here with my brother from another mother, Matteo Fratelli number 2. And today we're joined by one of my favorite artists, Coran.
Mine too.
Kizer. Oh, Matteo too. Coran, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Welcome, brother.
Oh, thanks, guys. I'm a huge fan. Love the show.
Thank you.
Mateo, I think we've been following each other since like the DeviantArt days. Probably.
Oh my God, yeah. We go back a long time ago. I think, the early years of my career. So I would say like 2006, 7. I don't know. Like that's when I opened my DeviantArt account, but maybe you were on it earlier than I did.
Yeah. I was on there about 2005 or 6 or whatever. I didn't really start posting until later on. Once my friend Jeffrey, do you remember Chamba?
Oh yeah, Jeffrey. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I used to. So I started seeing his stuff, and I was like, I should be friends with that guy, and then also start posting. Yeah. So that's what I did. I also was on like a whole bunch of digital forums, like digitalwebbing.com, and I don't know if you remember those.
I don't remember those, but I do remember DeviantArt, and I definitely want to talk about DeviantArt. So for these kiddies who might be listening, what was DeviantArt for you guys?
Which actually still exists.
Yeah, it does. It's very controversial at the moment because they're using other people's work to sell NFTs and all types of stuff. But
really? I didn't know about that. Shit.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I closed my account
your stuff up on
like months ago. I think 1 year ago. Did you still have your account there? Do you still do stuff on there?
Yeah, I don't know. I forgot my password. I gotta that's the reason why. The reason why my stuff is still up there. I gotta take it down somehow, some way. On DeviantArt, I just started posting and sort of forming a little bit of a community of artists. So my friend Jeff Wamaster, Chris Copeland, Jeff Copeland, Jeffrey Cruz, Von Toten. All these artists, we formed, and now everyone works in the animation or game or comic book industry. They were like cherry picked from that group. Do
you guys think Deviant helped you get your careers going, being on DeviantArt?
Well, we got noticed, definitely, because there was a lot of people in the industry that were on there. What's up, Ed?
Eric is in the house.
For some reason I keep calling
look who's here.
Yeah.
Hello, Eric.
Even when I was at Warner Brothers, I called Eric Ed.
Can we call him Ed from now on?
Let's call him Ed.
Our co-host Ed Canetti is here.
But yeah, I mean, like we formed like a community of artists on DeviantArt, and we got to know a lot of people in the industry, like Joaquim DeSantos was on there, Lauren Montgomery, Sam Liu. He might have been on there, but I was conversing with Sam Liu on his own website. I saw his website back in the early 2000s, and I was like, wow, who's this guy who was drawing a very elongated bodies like me, So I was like, I want to see if I can hit him up.
Coran, talk about that, like your influences, like you're talking about drawing those long bodies. Your work always grabbed my attention. It was the swag I saw in the drawing. The just oomph is a good way I could describe it. They were just powerful images, and I could see you liked playing with existing properties, but in a new way. Like I think about your Calvin and Hobbes and your Inspector Gadgets and stuff like that. And that stuff grabbed me. So what influence, like coming up as a kid, what was influencing you?
You know what? It was mostly just like I loved Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld and all those big Marvel comic book artists, back in the early 90s. Mid 90s, Joe Mad, stuff like that. But I was the hugest fan of Norman Rockwell, and sort of pushing the anatomical structure of a human being. I liked how he did that, and then also Bill Watterson, and I loved. I studied a lot of the Renaissance artists from back in the day.
Nice.
So those. Pretty much anything pertaining to art, I was pretty much into, dude.
Did you have formal art training? Like, did you go to art school or anything, or did you just figure it out on your own?
I was pretty much figuring it out on my own. I was going to the library pretty much every day and reading all the books. Cool. On perspective, anything my father told me to kind of do, because my father's also an artist.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
He can do.
What does he do?
Yeah, he can draw portraits and all that stuff. Professionally, he's a musician and a playwright.
Cool.
But my father also, he's also really skilled at drawing likenesses and stuff like that. He's extremely blunt. And so when I was a kid, because we're in Jersey here, so everybody's pretty blunt. And so I would show him some hey, this is a dog. He said, it looks like a horse. So, I said, okay,
did that encourage you to keep going, or was that discouraging for you?
No, that kept me going. I mean, I liked that he was just truthful and told me what I needed to do. Like he would be blunt, but also at the later on, kind of give me constructive criticism.
That's great.
And same thing with all the other, your perspective is off. Do something with the perspective, your composition, the color, learn color theory, and all that stuff.
And when did you get better than him? I want to know this. At what age?
I guess really, really early, around 14, something like that, 15.
Mm-hmm. Oh, shit. Shots fired.
You're like, Dad, shut the fuck up.
I wouldn't have said that, or I wouldn't be alive today. But yeah, I mean, when he said study anatomy, I got so crazy with anatomy that I was studying I had gotten to Gray's Anatomy books.
Oh shit! I read that book too.
Yeah, to the point where I wanted to be a medical illustrator. And
wow!
That was my direction at 14, 15.
Oh, that's so cool, because I had a moment like that as well in my life. There was a moment in which instead of doing the School of Comic Books, I was undecided either doing that or it was a medical design school. I don't know how to call it, but yeah, it was to illustrate medical books and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah,
that same book made me think about being a medical illustrator too, because the drawings in it were so like precise and beautiful, and I thought, oh wow, and then I looked into it and was like, oh shit, there's money in here, and then I chose the other path.
It gives you this idea that if you study that, then you'll learn how to dominate anatomy at a level that nobody can, And then, then you find out that you don't need to be that specific in knowing, muscles and that in anatomy. Right. But there was a moment in which I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna learn everything about the human body.
Yeah, that was, but that's one of the reasons on why I was like sort of unknowingly able to like push the form of the human body, like the proportions and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was just mostly learning muscles and the bones and all that stuff. And then once I got it, I was like, well, I could probably do what, I'm not, making myself equivalent to Norman Rockwell, but I was like, I could probably push the anatomical form now.
Hell yeah.
Do what a lot of my favorite comic book artists are doing. And so that's what I started doing in late 90s.
Okay. Yeah. So growing up in North Jersey, I mean, we're talking about all your academic pursuits, but I see other influences in your art that aren't so academic based. So being close to New York, hip hop and graffiti play an influence on you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, a lot of my friends are graffiti artists. They tag and all that stuff. So that worked itself into a lot of the composition of some of my work. Growing up, instead of just drawing characters just sort of standing there and looking at you all stiff, I wanted to actually add some life and fluidity to the characters. And that's what I still do, especially with the compositions of a bunch of characters in one sort of picture.
Yeah, I see that.
But hip hop, definitely. I mean, I grew up with that. Since I was born into it, I was molded by it. Like
me too. Me too. I share that with you.
Yeah.
In fact, I wanted to ask you, I'm pretty sure this is you. I remember I was talking to a graffiti artist, and he turned me on to a YouTube video of another graffiti artist who I think took you out with some cans, and that might have been like your first time really messing with them.
Kipto. He's a mural artist who goes all around the world and draws murals on walls, for a good amount of money. Just like people pay him kind of money just to come to Brazil or wherever he's going, to Japan. And so I was in California, he was in California. I was like, hey, let's do a mural together. Let's collaborate on something. And so he was like, okay, let's do it, like, in a couple of days. And I was like, well, I didn't know about a couple of days. That guy. But okay, I guess so.
So
I never used a can before. Like,
So talk to me about that. What was that like, using a can?
It was interesting in the beginning. You can't just sort of like easily spray a thin line or a thick line on the wall and think, it's, it looks just like how you gotta. He taught me how to like draw squares and circles.
Yep.
And all that stuff, and I was like, wow, it's so hard to do this.
It is. Were you having drips and shit, like problems with drips and too much paint?
Yeah, there was a lot of that. And then I was like, I could probably incorporate that into some of my stuff.
Yeah, also from my really short experience, mostly by watching other people doing it, there's like the lines are big. So sometimes you got to prepare the gesture in advance if you have a really long, maybe straight or curved line. And also the distance between the hand and the spray and the wall. And sometimes it drops, so you fuck it up and you gotta fix it later. There's a lot of elements to it. So Did you keep doing it after, or it's something that it was just you tried?
Not really.
And then
I just sort of like I was just like okay, that was fun, and then I moved on to working back in animation, but I would like to do that again sometime.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, you get the bug when you play with it. For me, the hardest part was because when I make a brush stroke, I'll like flick it off the page and like pull away as I'm done.
Yeah.
And with cans, if you do that, the line gets wider. So you got to push in to get that taper. It's like the opposite of what I do. So that's always tricky for me. But yeah, I always want to keep messing around with it. There's something awesome about painting on that scale that's fucking insane. That large size.
It's a good
Eric,
time.
how about you? You look like a guy who does that kind of stuff. Right?
I gotta be honest with you guys. I didn't even know we were freaking live until like 2 minutes ago. I literally had to look up and be like, "Oh shoot, the record button is like blinking." You guys are doing great.
Well, luckily now,
I can't believe you're able to make this thing work.
Now the only person that you see on YouTube is the person who's speaking. So you basically didn't say a single word, so nobody saw you in your miserable state.
Unless we ask Jamie to just
just to keep our voices. Just to keep our voices and just stay on Eric for literally 10 minutes of him just.
You guys are doing great. Keep up the great work on the interview. Focus on our guests, dummies.
We are. So, Coran, moving forward. So have you worked, all like in animation? Has that been your entire career? Have you touched in comics or illustration at all?
Well, yeah, I'm like professionally as an artist, I started in animation. I was actually working over at Warner Brothers when Eric came over for a little bit. And helped out on All-Star Superman. Okay. You remember that, Eric? Yeah. And I thought that Warner Brothers were going to bring me over to be a character designer.
Yeah.
But they were like, "Hey, storyboard revision." I was like, "I don't know what that is. What do we explain?" You know. And so I had to learn pretty much all the terminology. I didn't realize also that it was a 2-week test, and I wasn't even supposed to be in California. I was like supposed to like still be testing out, but I thought I had the job, and so I ended up moving to California.
Oh shit!
And I'm like, yeah, I'm working as an artist, baby. Turns out, so Joaquin he was like, "Oh, you quit your job?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm working here now, right?" And so he had to like kind of give me the job based on like my misconstruing thing.
That's awesome.
Well, that's awesome. A nice way. Yeah. So people keep that in mind. Just in case that happened to you.
I didn't want to go home. So I ended up learning as much as I could about the shots and what a mid shot was and a full shot and all that other stuff. Now I was a horrible storyboard revisionist, but I was much more learned, and I was also learning from a whole bunch of the artists, like the background artists and the prop artists, just in case they didn't want me to do the revision anymore, and they were like, "Hey, you gotta go home." I said, "Well, I got this skill."
So did you transition from storyboards and so now predominantly you're doing character design? Is that correct? Or are you boarding?
Yeah.
Too?
Yeah. I've been doing been a character artist for like 11 years.
Okay.
For different studios, mostly helping develop different like shows and stuff like that.
So you work in TV. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, mostly television. I've done some video game stuff, but
okay.
I still call it video games because I was born in the early '80s. So you guys probably do the same thing.
Yeah. Well, what else would we call it?
These kids these days, I don't know. They have a whole different name for a whole bunch of things. But yeah, games and television animation majority of the time. That's what I do for character design.
Hey, are you guys having issues seeing everyone else's video?
Nope.
No.
Why? I see everyone.
Because I everyone's screens went blank except for me, and there's like a flashing red light.
You crushed the new computer as well?
No, I don't know what that is. I look fine.
It's your computer dying.
Coran, I was running late because I'm having sciatic nerve issues, right? And I didn't want to be the one that holds up the show. We were looking forward to having this conversation. Here's what happens when you hand over the reins to Shawn, who just presses buttons in a panic, dude. Just any buttons
Eric's
that,
back.
any button that he thinks, I think I should press that button with no idea like they need to be pressed in a specific sequence. He's just like, whatever, man, I'm in charge now, blip, blip, blip. And now he's like, oh, I can't see you guys.
Except Eric, you're back on, Eric. You're good.
Well done, host. Well done.
It looks like everything's fine. I just wanted to make sure.
Well, to me, it says that I'm still uploading, so yeah. I think
everything's
working.
Everyone's fine. Yeah. I've completely derailed this show now at this point.
No, not at all. I can still see everything.
All right, cool. All right. So you worked in video games and TV animation. And when did you move back to Jersey? Was that a COVID thing?
No, that was like 2 years ago for my family, just because I hadn't seen them in a number of years. So, yeah, most of my family, they're based on the East Coast, and a lot of them are afraid to take that plane ride over to California, 3,000 miles away.
Yeah, it's a big trip. I get that.
Yeah, so they're like, yeah, we're happy for you, but we're not going anywhere. Yeah.
So has it been challenging to work like remotely as you do? Are you freelance for animation studios, or are you like on a specific show?
I'm freelancing at the moment for shows and games and like little card stuff. I'm doing some card stuff for Disney at the moment. What is that? I forgot the name of it. Shoot. Encanto? No, Encanto. That's the movie.
Yeah.
But I forgot but that's most of what I'm doing, freelance remotely.
And you did some Marvel Snap cards, is that correct?
Horrible. Horrible. Marvel.
Why do you think they were horrible?
Well, I did some stuff and they kind of edited them over, afterwards. And I was like, well, really? Does that my stuff? It's like, that don't even look like my drawings. And now it's sort of the talk of like Reddit and all that. I can't believe they would purchase, this for this amount of money. And I'm like, well, that's not my stuff.
What did they do to it? Did they mess with the drawing or the colors? All of it?
Yeah, the colors. I guess they didn't want certain things in there. Like Invisible Woman's, her face, and also the ball of invisible energy and all that stuff. I did that, and it looked good, but when the final result, not so good. I was like, wait a minute.
But it's weird. Didn't they ask you to change it first? They just said, yeah, this is cool, and then they modified it at the last second by themselves without telling you anything?
Yeah, it was modified.
Hey, Coran, can I ask you something?
Sort of like add the parallax and all that stuff in there.
Right. Right.
And I don't know, because they did that, it's kind of screwed up things. And I guess they tried to fix it afterwards.
Oh, yeah, they were still figuring it out. Eric, you were going to ask something?
Yeah, I had a question for Coran real quick. How many of these kinds of shows or like, YouTube type of like episodes have you seen where they bring on a guest and they interview an artist? I suspect like a lot, right? From like a lot of different platforms. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I've, is this your expectation for them to just freaking bombard you with like questions? Was this what you were thinking? I'm gonna go share my, like, you're saying you moved away for family because they were, reluctant to come and visit you in California. I'm going to guess we have like, what, a 3-hour time difference. You're getting closer to lunch. I suspect your stomach is probably growling at you right now. You're surrendering you're surrendering your time. You know what I mean? The better part of your late afternoon. And they are just like, hey, Coran, stand up against the wall while we pelt you with tennis balls. That's basically what they were saying. You know what I mean? They were like, hey, man, let's take 60 minutes. You hold your ass up in the air, and we're going to throw tennis balls at it for the next 45, 30 minutes or so.
That sounds painful.
You know what I mean?
You know what's even cooler?
Man? Like 1 out of 10.
You know what's even cooler?
10, grade these dum-dums right now.
What's that?
What's even cooler is that there's a podcast with 3 hosts, and one of the hosts insults every time the other 2. That's an amazing podcast. I love it.
Yeah, it's what's amazing.
It's a beautiful
is
format.
He doesn't feel well and comes in late.
And everybody's got to pay
all
for
over
it.
everything we're doing. Right.
Yeah.
Ed, Cranky Ed. That's who's on today.
Yeah,
we don't have
Cranky
Ed today. We have Cranky Ed.
I am protecting. I am protecting the integrity of our hosts. As you guys are you barely give them time to answer. Like I feel like up on your screen right now, there's a teleprompter. Like if there's a break in what Coran is saying, you're like lob a question at him. Like just as soon as he's done talking. Don't wait for an answer.
For some of us, Eric, some of us here are excited to be interviewing Coran.
Yeah, so, I'm glad that your excitement is superseding your freaking professionalism. If there's a lot of questions
coming at you, Coran, it's my excitement that you are on our show. Unlike Cranky Ed over there.
Cranky Ed.
Cranky Ed knows how to do an interview. Coran.
Mateo, you've been killing it, man, for past, 7-8 years now.
Thanks, man,
dude. Yeah,
just what Mateo needs, more praise.
Okay, I'm gonna shit on myself for a second, just so you two can be happy about it. I tried a little bit to work in animation, and I suck. They basically it lasted like nothing. So in that specific regard, animation, I'm still not equipped to that. And also, one thing that I've noticed, and I'm always in awe when I meet a person that works in character design and stuff, is that the philosophy behind it, it's almost the opposite, I've noticed, of a comic book artist. So a comic book artist doesn't usually have a lot of time, and you work basically in economy. So I gotta reach the best in the lowest number of tries possible. So even character studies, I gotta get it at the first or second time, but because there's no time, so it works like that. And in the few times I tried with character design for either animation or video games and stuff, it took me a while to get in the other philosophy, which is I'm gonna do a lot of stuff, and then out of all the stuff that I'm gonna do, they're gonna maybe pick one, or maybe sometimes just a small detail of what I've done, and then they're gonna either hand it over to somebody else, or they're gonna make me work starting from that small, like this glove. I love this glove on this character, so work on those gloves, and then you just keep working on the character. So it's a lot of work, and then out of that amount of work, you pick a small thing. So it's a completely different way, a completely different mindset. So it always blows me away, because I was never able to do that transition. I've always reasoned in economy terms. I try to be really economic.
Yeah.
Mateo, go ahead, Coran. Sorry.
I think that you would be able to. How long has it been since you tried out animation? Was that years ago or?
That was yesterday. He did it the one time and he got bit in the ass, and he was like, "That's enough for me, man."
I did 3 drawings yesterday, and I sent it to a friend of mine who works in animation. He's like, they're not that good, so that's. And I gave up. No, I'm sorry. No, I actually they tried to hire me for a thing when Disney Plus was coming up. There was this What If stories the one with Captain America, with the female version of Captain America. So they asked me to do some of that, but they asked me to do it in a specific style because the character design were almost done. So, and I had to adapt to a style that I'm not able to work on. And that's another thing that, to me, it's really hard because for the last 16, 17 years, I've always been doing just my thing, and people would hire me expecting me to do my thing. So it was really hard. And also I worked on the last Spider-Verse as a character designer, and eventually they picked up a character that I did, but they didn't use it for this one because they went another way, because they started building up during COVID, and then 2 years went by, so they changed the whole plot and the whole story, so they end up not using my stuff. But to me, it was always weird because I was in my head, I was recognizing that I was always trying to do the least amount of work as possible as a good comic book artist. Instead, in there, you got to do. I keep showing stuff, and it's not my, I'm not there mentally. So
I remember seeing your stuff on Spider-Verse. You're talking about the second one, right?
The second one, yeah. They asked me to do some, I think, Black Cat stuff and some Craven that originally was supposed to be there.
Yeah, so I worked over at Sony, and they were making Spider-Verse 2, the second one, upstairs. I came and all the other crew, and but they had a whole sort of the document or folder filled with the Spider-Verse stuff, and I ended up seeing some of that and seeing your work, and I thought, wow, this looks really cool.
Yeah, mine I think was in the "Do not do this" folder. Do not work like this.
Eric, I got to rewind a little bit. Eric, did you hear the entitlement earlier? Eric, did you pick up on that? I'm hired to do my thing.
No, hold on. There was a couple of things in there where I was like, if I read between the lines, I can almost hear him say, I've been doing this for a few years now, and I don't like it when people tell me to do things a bunch of times. I'm pretty good the way I am.
Yeah, that's basically it. You must see me.
Right, man.
You should see me when they ask me to redo stuff. I'm like, my immediate reaction is like, what the fuck do you know? I know better.
So
this works. Then it takes me a couple of days.
Yeah, how much movies have you guys watched recently? There's this movie with Pedro Pascal and Nicolas Cage called The Unbearable Weight of Something. So I can't remember what it is, but there is this scene where older Nick Cage is driving down the street, and he looks over to his passenger seat, and there's a late 20s version of himself sitting next to it. And it's basically his ego telling him how fucking awesome he is, right? I suspect Mateo has the same freaking thing.
Oh yeah. I live on a highway. Instead of his I'm surrounded by cars with old me around.
No. Hold on. Instead of, what do you call it? Instead of like an actual, like a figment of his imagination, it's somebody that he hires on a daily basis to dress like him from like way back in his early 20s. And just tells him in Italian how freaking awesome he is. What do you mean they're asking you to do changes? Do you know who you are? You're Matteo fucking Scalera.
Just get Shawn. Shawn to sit right next to you because he looks almost exactly like
it's just me. It's just me. Mateo, we don't need those motherfuckers.
And I do the same with Shawn when Shawn needs it.
I look over and Mateo's like, you really do suck. You do suck.
We cut you off, Coran. What were you saying?
Eric, you started working in the industry back in what is
1922.
2000s or
Yeah, man, they were still hand cranking film when I was working. You know what I mean? I was in studio when they were working on Steamboat Willie, you know, when that interesting mouse was like, I was the, what do you call it? Video reference that they used for that mouse, dude, you know, like spinning the captain.
Eric, they rotoscoped Eric's dance.
I was the perfect height for the fucking shot. So they were like, put that Filipino kid in there. No, when did I start working? Super early. So it had to have been right after I graduated high school, mid 90s. So I saw like the space that you're in right now is pretty dang unique, but also I think it's super tough, right? I know that at least around the time that I remember you at Warner Brothers, that's what they were on the ranch, I think it was. Yeah. And man, they were in full on production mode. So you know, to Mateo's point, the turnaround, like, so it's weird, right? The expectation of doing a bunch of character designs all at once. And Coran, you can back me up on this. The production time doesn't stop. The expectation is still there, right? You're going to do 20 Supermen and 15 Batmen or whatever the heck it is. You're going to get notes from the producers and the round table of like, you know, leads, but it doesn't mean you get more time. You know,
no, not at all. No.
Can you talk on that a little bit? I know that when you were doing your shot select, like every time that you would go in, you experienced that firsthand when you were working there. Can you talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, like what you talking about with character design?
Just in general, as far as like some people, when you see the product, it's like the polished version, right? Yeah. But behind the scenes, there's so many things that's preventing the train from going off the tracks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to go that way. Otherwise, you know, people are going to get fired. You know, it's like if you're kind of lacking on character design or storyboard art or storyboard revision or whatever, you got to then people are definitely going to look at you and say, well, that's the culprit. You know, so you got to continue sort of, you know, keeping the gears sort of going. And was that culture shock for you, because you had come from, like you said, your history was more, you know, illustration and stuff for DeviantArt, and they bring you into this structure. Culturally, was that a weird sort of like thing to transition into? Were you like, did you acclimate to it quickly or? Not quickly, no, definitely not that. But it took like a couple of years actually to really sort of,
years, holy shit,
acclimate to, you know, the storyboard revision and storyboard art and all that stuff. Because like I said, I didn't know anything. I didn't even know that was a thing before working in the animation industry. You know, that people were drawing pictures in sequence in order to, you know, make a film or a cartoon, stuff like that. So I kind of knew about character design before working in animation. But really what I thought was that you had to go to a university in order to work in the industry. I didn't know that you could just like be good, you know, be really good at art. And so, you know, I didn't think that they would pick me to work in animation, you know, and ask me to come work for them. So, you know, when it was kind of sudden, you know, and so I had to learn really quickly, because I didn't want to work back as a security guard, because that's what I was doing before working at Warner Brothers. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Guarding like sea vessels, working around a ton of Italians. Hey, how you doing over here? Come on, you know. You want to see my ID? Oh, come on, buddy boy, you know.
Yeah. That's what can I tell you, that's what Mateo sounds like to me every day.
Yeah. I don't know what the fuck.
Hey, one last bit, and then I'm going to hit this mute button. You know, you went in there, again, they threw you at the deep end of the pool. Life put you in a situation in which you had to succeed, and that's why I think you went into learning mode, right? You were like, you'd say as humble as you could, and you said, hey, let me learn as many, not just the job that I was potentially going to get hired for, but you also knew, hey man, I need to be smart about this because this department may need me. So I'm going to go learn about that a little bit. What's something that you could pass on if you could to like people who are, especially now, things are so competitive as far as like getting those spots, not just in TV, but just across the board when it comes to productions. If you can give somebody who's right at the door saying, hey, I'm about to walk in, what can you tell me that'll help me succeed long term like you have? What's the thing?
Learn as quickly as you possibly can when you get the job, and try to, be nosy when it comes to animation. Learn what the other artists are doing, just in case you don't have a job doing, like I say, character design or storyboard revision or storyboard art. It's like now you can be, because you've hung around the background artists, kind of saw what they were doing, you can now be a background artist, maybe, and then prop art or whatever else. But learn as, be voracious when it comes to taking in information, artistically, because this is something that you want to do, anyways. It's like over the years, like ever since I was a kid, I've done pretty much everything. Graphic design, I've done playbills for Broadway, all types of stuff, dude. Illustrations for backgrounds for my friends, and whatever anyone asked me to do, I kind of did, because I love art, period. So even though it took some time, working in animation to sort of like get, figure out everything. I remember Jay Oliva. I remember he asked me, Jay Oliva, of course, Eric. He asked me, "What did you do before you moved here?" I said, "I used to be a security guard, man. You guys hired a security guard." But I said, I was like, I know everything now, so you can't fire me, That's because in like those 2 weeks, I tried to learn as much as I possibly could. I knew about, and I even taught some of my friend, my close friend, like some things so that we would have a conversation, But yeah, it's just like learn as much as you possibly can about what you want to do. Or
That's awesome,
other
man.
things
Thank
that
you.
you didn't know that you wanted to maybe do.
That's great. Thank you.
That's a good mindset. One that we do talk about on the show quite a bit, like that hustle mindset, that keep going, push, learn.
Yeah.
Coran, what are your like future goals? Are you happy doing what you're doing and want to stay where you're at, or is there other stuff you want to tap into?
I probably like to direct a live action movie or something like that.
Shit.
Like a little short, horror flick. Soon. I got a couple of friends here in Jersey and New York who, work in film and all that stuff. So I want to probably do that.
Is it something you wrote?
No, it's something my other friend wrote. I came up with the concept for it. He kind of was like, "Oh, okay, let's do that." And,
Nice.
he sounds like Jay Leno, and yeah, let's do it. That's what I ended up. So yeah, usually I come up with the ideas, and he'll just like sort of write it up, and then I have cameras and everything.
Nice.
Yeah, and lights and all that stuff. So we're gonna make a little cheap B level horror film.
That's awesome. How long?
So it's live action. Sorry, I didn't get that part. It's you think about live action, right?
Mateo,
Cool.
Mateo, when he said live action, that's what he meant.
Oh no, I missed those two words. That's why I was already thinking about animation. And sorry.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be live action for maybe a half hour or something like that. Not even long, long at all. Just to see if I can actually do it.
Are you going to act on them as well? Or are you going to be one of the main characters?
I might do some M. Night Shyamalan or Alfred Hitchcock type stuff. I'll make an appearance, like I'll be yeah. I might say hi to the camera.
So, Coran, I've noticed a few times on the show, like you've got a nice range of like character voices. Have you ever messed with voice acting?
No, not really. I just I think we all probably can do it, especially if you work in animation. You can.
I mean, I definitely have that skill.
Yeah, and also I'm from Jersey. Jersey is the most multicultural.
I saw Eric's face. Sorry to interrupt, but Eric and I made the same face at the same time. You probably can't see mine because it's all pixelated. But
what was the face for? What was the face about?
Eric, show it because he can't see mine.
Yeah. My camera went out. I don't know if you guys.
He was asking what the face was for, Mateo.
Oh yeah.
And,
it was for you being good at doing voices. Yeah. Well, we never know. We never knew about that skill.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, because he's not good at it. He's
We're talking about Shawn.
That's how you don't know.
We're talking about Shawn Coran.
Yeah.
We never knew about this skill.
Did, like,
that probably it's a fucking
in this
lie.
Conversation, in this conversation, Coran has done at least like 3 or 4 that were like, that's hilarious, man. That's pretty cool. He did the Italian one, he did the Jay Leno one, and probably 2 of them previously, right?
Yeah.
Shawn, and then as soon as here's the thing, as soon as Coran said it, Shawn's like, yeah, I do that too. And it took all of my fucking control not to have my eyeballs roll into the back of my head. Because I was like, oh my God, can you please not make it about you? The guy's trying to talk about what he wants to do for the future. And he may do voice. And I was like, you lobbed a question like, are you thinking about
Shawn's
doing
voices?
Yeah, I was going to ask. Let's hear some of the voices.
Yeah. Come on, Shawn.
See?
It's your time.
See?
Time to shine, baby.
What? You can't put me on the spot like that.
Do Trump. Let me see if you can do Trump.
Who do you want me to do? Who do you want me to do? This is going to be terrible.
Lizzo.
Who? Lizzo? I don't even know what she sounds like.
I gotta go. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Eric is super cranky today.
Yeah. Way more than
Mateo,
usual.
Don't you remember?
Can you guys hear my voice? Because
My camera.
Yeah.
I can see you fine, Kizer.
Yeah,
Coran,
the image is a little cloudy, but the audio is fine.
But it keeps telling me don't worry about that. See, the way this works is it backs up to a cloud, so what we see is a little shittier than what's actually being recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was filming on that, but I think it's I had it on earlier today, so it probably kind of.
Oh, it ran out of juice.
Yeah, no, well, it's plugged up. It's just that it was like I'm hot, and so it just turned off. It's like no.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So this before we hit record, we kind of touched on this. I want to circle back to it. You're at your dad's house, you said. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm at my father's place at the moment.
Is this his studio you're sitting in?
No, this is his basement. He made his whole basement into a bar / sort of movie area. I mean,
nice.
his whole
That's
basement.
cool.
Yeah. And my father is just weirdly talented when it comes to carpentry. So
you don't. I was under the impression that this was where you typically worked. I guess that's not the case.
No, I usually work at my place.
Okay, because the lighting, I was like, how do you work under that lighting? It looks great for the camera, but
yeah, no, I can't work. It looks almost like interrogation over here because he's got he's got the circular table and the 4, he's got the chair over here and over there. So.
Well, so that gets back to Eric's point that we were interrogating you earlier. So you set the scene for that.
So speaking of interrogating, I got a couple of questions that I'm curious about. So one that
load the gun, Mateo. Load it up.
So one is I always do it with people that I don't know a lot about, like personally, about the personal life. Like, do you since you're working from remote, do you have to work specific times of the day since you work for a studio it's based somewhere else, or you're pretty much free to do whatever you want with your time?
No, I'm not free. Unfortunately, I'm not free. Especially if you're being paid like a certain certain amount of money. So what I usually do is wake up at a certain. I usually make it almost as if I'm working full time at a studio. So I'll wake up at a certain time. I start, kind of going through exactly what I need to do for clients and all that, and then I get that done. Maybe I'll eat food for lunch, and then I get right back to it. So I make it kind of like a regular, kind of almost like a 9-to-5 art job.
And was this something that you used to do before, even before starting to work for animation, or you were one of those guys that would work nighttime and sleep through the day and stuff like that?
Yeah, before working in animation, I was like a security guard, so I was mostly
okay, yeah,
working.
right, yeah.
Yeah, so I was kind of like working overtime for those companies.
Yeah.
FJC Security.
Well, where did you do security? Was it like, what sort of place was it a security job for?
It was Port Newark.
Okay.
Yeah, I was guarding like the hugest sea vessels that brought in merchandise and Lexuses and.
Now I understand the Italian references.
Yeah. It was tons of longshoremen who had to go on the ship and drive the cars off the ship. These expensive cars, and also I had to make sure that there was no stowaways going on and coming off, type of stuff.
And there's another thing that I'm curious about is that I've already asked a couple of guests, and I think it's I don't know. To me, it's an important question, but sometimes it doesn't seem to be really important for people. But do you reward yourself after doing like a big gig, like a long gig? You reward yourself and stop for a second, work. You're one of those guys that keep working and working and working and never stop.
I don't reward myself at all. I'm always sort of constantly working. I need to vacate. I don't think I've ever had a vacation really at all. I've never gone to a different country. The only place I've gone to is California. That's the furthest I've been, and then back to Jersey and California again.
Do you want to travel? Do you want to see other places?
Yeah, I do. I am sort of like addicted to the process of like, art. And so I got to give myself some time to like do other things, one of these days.
Yeah.
Do you have any hobbies outside of art?
Do I have any hobbies? I like to, what do you call it? Like work with cameras and, stuff like that. Maybe play piano, write some songs.
Okay. You got some musical inclinations in you?
Yeah, because of my father. My father's.
Is your dad like the most talented man alive? It seems like he can do anything.
He's definitely a jack of all trades, master of all. My father.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't tell him that. I try to keep him, make sure.
We won't let him know this aired.
Yeah.
I wanna personally thank you for being a part of our new segment called Mateo's Boring Ass Questions.
No, I'm sorry. I was trying to.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Mateo.
I love your questions.
So
I got another boring one if you want.
Wait, hold on.
Bring it
Here's
on.
the thing, right?
Wait.
Mateo,
Eric's going to say something first.
Listen, Mateo's questions, I don't think they're boring. They're coming from the heart. You know what I mean? It's like, is this the kind of stuff that Mateo is interested in? If Coran was in his studio, hey man, what do you do on the side? What do you do to relax? Mateo's trying to like contrast his life to other artists whom he admires. It makes total sense. The way he asks it is very on brand for Mateo. You know what I mean? Like you can almost see him serving him up like a bowl of pasta as he's doing it. Hey, let's just talk, man. Here's some wine. Here's some pasta. Here's some dessert after. It comes from a good place. Shawn, on the other hand, fucking doxing the shit out of people. Yo, man, where did you used to work? Yeah? Okay, cool, man. Where's that house that you're at right now? What's your social security number and your bank account numbers?
Yeah. I like how Shawn was like, I see that you're black, so hip hop and it's like, okay,
see?
I guess,
that's the other thing.
It's just, but it is a weird coincidence that you actually knew that.
Listen, Coran, if our guests can pick up on it, and Matt, this is like, what episode is this? This is like 295 already.
Hold on. I got to defend myself here. I know you love hip hop because I see your reels and I see the music choices you make and I see it in your artwork, and I have the same thing going on. So,
yeah. I love it.
Okay, also, to
and
be
fair,
fair,
Eric is trying to
listen, I'm trying to defend you. Listen, I'm trying to defend you, okay? Shawn asked this of everybody. We were in Italy earlier this year. Random strangers on the street, he was asking if he was they were into hip hop. And it could be anything. It could be like somebody's random shoes that looked like it was part of that culture. It could be like whatever it is. Shawn will just ask that. They don't even have to be English speaking. He just goes and approaches them, and that's his kinship with those people. So don't take it as a slight. Take it more of a Shawn likes the idea of being associated with a.
Are you sure? Are you sure there weren't all black people that he was asking to in Italy?
I didn't say it.
Hey man, you listen to the hip hop and the graffitis and stuff like that.
Coran's been on the show all of however many minutes, and he's already got Shawn's voice down to a T. Mr. Shawn, I'm an expert at voices too. Crystal has not done one voice this entire time being put on the spot.
Mateo does my voice the best. No, I can't. I want to hear. Mateo does my voice the best. Yeah. Mateo, go ahead.
Yeah, you just do this and that's it.
I feel like I can do a little bit of Eric's voice.
All right, let's hear that.
Okay, yeah.
What's happening here is that because Eric has a little bit of like, how Prince used to speak.
Royalty tone,
yeah.
Dude, I'll take it.
The philosophical nature of life and the meticulous forces that sort of govern, the world. And
he's got me.
Like, wow, this guy is deep.
Listen,
he just
Prince
sounds
royalty
deep.
tone.
He's not at all.
Everything that he says is sort of like when I watch it, INKPULP podcast, I'm like, Eric is definitely like he's existential. He's like very introspective when he says this stuff.
Yeah. Do you also get the impression he doesn't like any of us except the guests? Do you get that listening to the show?
Yeah, I think he likes you guys in his own way, and I like it. But he's looked the same since the '90s, which is interesting. And I think he's an alien.
Hold on. I'll say this. That's not actually accurate. I was just again going to the doctor yesterday, and he said something very. I can read between the lines what he was saying. Right? He goes like, "Do you wear glasses?" And clearly I did, because when he walked in, I was wearing them. I had to take them off, so that I took them off because he was about to adjust my back or whatever. And he goes, "Because in this picture of you, you look very different." And I was like, "Oh, really? You have a picture of me?" It's like, "Yeah, it looks like it's a year old or so because I hadn't been to this place in forever." And I go, "Let me see it." And he turns it around, and it looks like me, Mateo, by way of like mass, me, Mateo, and Shawn slammed together, of me just like in a sweater like this. It was his nice way of saying, you know what I mean? You need to take a new photo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, there were many variations of me, as you say, from like the freaking 90s. One of them happens to be the not so small version of me now.
Okay. Eric, do you think you're the best shape of your life right now?
Are you asking me to judge Coran? Like, what do you think of Coran? Does he look like he's in the best shape of his life?
Oh, no. Coran is in tremendous shape. No, I was asking you, Eric. Do you think you're now in your best shape in your life?
He led that question with, in contrast to Coran, Eric.
Yeah.
You think
I know. Did you see that?
No, I wasn't ironic. I think Eric looks
after Coran
really good
like,
lately.
Shot his guns at us. You know what I mean? Like you flashed those guns, and I wanted to hold my hands up, and I was like, "You take anything you want, man. You can have anything out of my pockets."
Yeah.
No, clearly I'm not, because I was just at the doctor getting adjusted. I am not in the best shape of my life. I'm falling apart in front of your eyes.
Wait. Hold on.
Well, by looks,
you
at
have
least.
a sciatic.
Not even that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I look like I'm in shape, but I haven't. I don't think I've exercised since I was 16, 17 years old.
Are you serious?
That's just genetics, bro.
Yeah. But I don't.
That's what youth look like, Shawn.
I don't eat what most other people, are consuming, putting in their mouth. I'm not a beef or pork or any of that stuff guy. I'm mostly
strict vegetarian.
Yeah, pretty much mostly vegetables and salmon. Without mercury.
What do you call it?
Mateo's having an
Pescatarian?
existential crisis right now.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Mateo, what about you?
Yeah, my problem is that aside with the vegetables, I eat a lot of cheese, and that's my problem.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's definitely going.
I thought the problem was you just eat a lot of what you eat.
Yeah.
Remember, dumb shark mode.
Dumb shark
You're
forever.
gonna need to put a marker on this episode where Shawn like straight tells Mateo, you are out of control right now. You are way out of control, because our guest is also primarily a vegetarian, and you are just a lump of like Italian clay waiting to be molded into something. Put a pin in this part of the episode, because fast forward 5 months from now, when Mateo is like super sculpted and is just, what are you kilos wise right now, Mateo?
Oh, I just weighed myself a few hours ago, and I was 81. So I'm almost going to, 7 and stuff, So 80 is a big, how do you call it? A big mark. So if I manage to go down 80, it's a great result.
Okay, so here's my point. When he's down to like 70 kilos, and I just saw the photo of him, by the way, of what he used to look like, shredded. When he's in that space again, Shawn, we're gonna dedicate an episode of just making fun of the fact that you just called him fat between the lines.
Let's do it. Mateo, get shredded. Time to get shredded.
You asked a
brother.
question. What are you each working on exactly at the moment?
Go ahead, Mateo. I'm gonna answer for Mateo. Every comic book cover being produced.
That's cover that you can think of, dude. Hey, Coran, I know you're not even working in comics, and you don't even need a cover. But right now, Mateo is working on a cover for you that you don't know.
You don't even know. You know the movie that you're gonna be doing soon. I'm already doing the cover for it.
You've already done the poster. How do you know what it was called?
Eric, you want to answer the question? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Mateo.
I'm just doing. I'm doing my own thing. I'm doing my own book, which is gonna be done in around like a year from now, more or less. And at the same time, as these two assholes said, I'm doing a bunch of covers. Like I just did like 4 or 5 in this last few days. And you see, did I slide it in like just 4 or 5?
He's so fast. Mateo,
did you say 4 or 5 in the past 2 days?
No, in the last few days. I would say in the last 8 days.
Still
8 days.
You know what? I take it back. I hope you never lose weight. I hope that you gain 20 more fucking kilos between now and death. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, man, that's so many. Get under control. Get it under control. Knock it off.
Now, when you started using like inks and sort of like, do you use watercolor as well, or? Mateo?
Kind of. You mean colors? Or yeah. Well, yeah, kind of. I use some watercolors and some acrylics, but I treat them as they were watercolors. So I dilute them with water a lot, or I also use liquid acrylics, which are really nice. You know,
when you started using the inks, do you feel like you got a little bit more notice than just sort of drawing in the more what looked like animated style, because I remember at one point you were doing something different, and then you started using inks, and then people were like, "Hey, let's put them on like a whole bunch of." Because Sanford Green was kind of the same way, you know. And then it kind of like I was like, "Dude, this guy is getting ridiculous." Mateo, I was like, "Wow."
Yeah, you know what it was? It was me starting to go to the States for shows and seeing a lot of professionals working live at shows and seeing, the actual original art and stuff like that. It made me want to do more of that stuff, because there was a time, and you, Chumba, that you mentioned early, a lot of other guys, you were a huge influence on me, and back in the DeviantArt time. So I was doing a lot of, coloring in Photoshop, a lot of colors, and trying to a certain degree, to a certain point, in which I was basically almost just working all digital. I would just do the pencils by hand and just scan and then work digitally. But then again, I saw people working live. I saw the original art. I started buying original art, so I started appreciating the actual, the having the thing in my hand, so from then on, it's basically, I don't even remember the last time I colored digitally something, but it was a long time ago. I'm super into just doing everything traditionally.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I'm gonna make that transition to starting, to get back to pencils and pens and all that stuff, dude.
Yeah,
illustration.
Yeah, it's another thing. It's another feel.
And plus, with artificial intelligence, I mean, like you can kind of they can kind of reproduce very easily digital. So I'm gonna go back to traditional stuff, or make it tradigital. Like sort of a fusion of both, and see what happens.
Did you ever have you ever painted like traditionally?
Yeah, I used to paint oil, acrylic, watercolor, and all that stuff. And that's, if you look at some of the early DeviantArt stuff, or the stuff on digital webbing, and some of the other art forms, satellite soda, some of that stuff looks very much like as if I did them in watercolor, because I was trying to emulate, whatever, what I used to do traditionally.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, I like the cell shaded style. Let's play with that a little bit. So I wanted to kind of do that combined with a whole bunch of, it was more experimental, most of my stuff,
Yeah.
Which it still is. I try to change. My stuff sort of automatically looks different after like 4 or 5 years. Yeah. Because I'm always experimenting and doing something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How about you, Shawn?
All right, so Eric, so I'm working on Marvel Snap cards primarily, and I've got some commissions coming up for New York Comic Con. I got to start getting busy on.
Yeah,
I'm doing a cover.
Sweet, I got to check out your Marvel Snap stuff, dude.
Yeah. They're not in game yet. I think they're going to do a big like Shawn release in November. They said. That's what they called it.
A big Shawn release. Yeah, I like that.
Because I've done a bunch, and I think they're just going to drop them all in like one boom.
Okay. Even as pixelated as Mateo's screen is right now, when you said a big Shawn release, I saw him twitch like he was allergic to something, man. Like I saw him twitch like he just got stung by a bee,
And are you working over at Riot? Eric?
Yeah, as one of the leads for their world building team. But personally, I'm working on my creator-owned book called Arc Athena, and I'm publishing that under my own Steam. So, and I'm releasing it via Iconic Comics. So that's been super helpful.
Sweet.
What about you, Coran? What are you working on right now?
Right now I'm doing character design for some unannounced sort of shows that certain big billion-dollar companies are producing. So, yeah.
The title is Shawn's Release.
Yeah. And later on they're going to do a big Shawn release in the future.
That's right. Everyone's jumping on the Shawn release bandwagon.
Every release is a big Shawn release, man. Oppenheimer.
I'm also producing my art book. I have an art book that.
I was going to ask you about an art book because I've been dying to get one of your art books. When is that coming out?
Well, it's out right now on GoFundMe comic. I'm probably going to put it out again in maybe a couple of months on like Kickstarter and all that stuff, or maybe Indiegogo. I'm not sure. I think Kickstarter is more popular. I'm not sure.
That'd be perfect because probably this episode will come out in like a month or something. So we'll get really close to that date. So maybe we'll, if you keep us updated about that, we can put a link in the description and everything, so
definitely
people can go find it.
That'd be awesome.
Definitely. All right, guys. Well, we've hit the hour mark. I think we're about done.
Wow, that was fast.
Thank you for joining us, Coran.
Thanks a lot, man. It was a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course. This was
I hope you've learned your lesson, young man, to never, ever do this with these dum-dums again.
All right, everyone, hang on. I'm going to hang on, everyone. I'm going to hit stop, but don't go anywhere. I got to explain to Coran how this works. All right, thanks for watching. Peace. This is the INKPULP Podcast. This is the INKPULP Podcast. Comics, hip hop, life.